Story 1. Sometimes when I am out in the woods, I am really tempted to get as lost as I can, or when I am driving to just keep going. Not because I hate my life, but because if I could start over somewhere where no one knew me, I would. Edit. To everyone saying to do it, I have been planning my move for quite a while now. Edit 2. I am not going through a crisis where I hate myself, and though I appreciate the concern, it is just not needed. I am very much a person who likes my own company. Story 2. Pause time and have a few more hours for my job, assignment, and sleep. Story 3. A beautiful garden, growing my own fruit and vegetables, keeping chickens for eggs, and being as self-sustainable as possible. Being able to walk from my doorstep to the beach to watch the sunset with someone I love. Just nature and peace, to be honest. It is wonderful to see so many people share this dream, and so many people are living this life. It gives me a lot of hope. Story 4. Having a home theater, the kind that actually looks like mini movie theaters and is usually found in multimillion-dollar homes. For some reason, I think about it a lot. It would be amazing to invite loved ones over to watch our favorite movies and have fun as if we were in an actual theater. Edit. I'm not living on my own yet, and I'm nowhere near the stage of life where I can have this. I'm 22 with no career yet. I appreciate the advice, but I'm not planning on getting a home theater anytime soon. Thank you anyway. Story 5. Have a perfect day by doing a variety of activities with someone I can connect with on a deep level. Story 6. A bathtub that is deep enough so the water covers my chest and knees, and is long enough for me to lie flat on the bottom. Story 7. I desperately want to have a family and have all my childhood friends be their uncles and aunties, just us in the same city or town. I am an immigrant to the United Kingdom from Hong Kong. Even though English is my first language, all my friends are spread over 3 continents, and I worry that my children will not understand my culture. I do not want to be that weird dad. And I miss my friends. Story 8. Strolling into the Vatican archives whenever I please to read whatever I want. Story 9. Right now, I am loading my truck and heading into the woods for a week. Story 10. A television with time travel capabilities. For example, I would like to go 20 years into the future and watch the Super Bowl without any knowledge of what happened between the present and that game. I think it would be cool to have my mind blown by everything that has changed. Story 11. Building a small machine shop in my backyard. Mill, lathe, welders, and an abundance of random steel I will never get rid of. Story 12. A day when I do not have to do anything. No laundry, no work, no mowing the yard or washing dishes. Food will be delivered. I can just lie on the couch, browse Reddit and Twitter, and enjoy the silence. Story 13. It turns out my husband's death was a terrible accounting mistake by the hospital, and he just comes home one day after his amnesia clears. Story 14. I have chosen to overwrite this comment. See you all on Lemmy. Story 15. A beautiful sunlit art studio and someone to be creative within it. Story 16. Having a super charismatic personality. Wow, this blew up. Thanks for the awards. I am like most Redditors. It would be cool to have one, but it is not my goal. I might work on my social life though, so thanks for the advice and the stories. Story 17. My book is a fantasy I am writing. It should be out before Winds of Winter, maybe. Story 18. I would really like to own my own home. With prices the way they are where I live, who knows if I will get there without moving a good distance away. Story 19. I am a homeowner with over 20 acres, including a running creek on the property. My family has everything they need for a happy, stable life. We have no debt and disposable income. As a family, we watch the sunrise and sunset together. We talk openly about our emotions in a healthy manner and help each other with our struggles. My children marry good partners. Perhaps one of them will provide me with a grandchild, but they are all happy and well taken care of. My wife and I live out our golden years traveling and spending time with family. We die peacefully in our bed, asleep together. Story 20. Having a boyfriend again. Not even a specific person, just someone. I miss the conversation and the cuddling, watching movies and playing video games together. Cooking together, going places together. Just in general, learning about another person in that way. It has been almost 4 years, and now the whole pandemic situation. Sometimes I wonder if it is ever going to happen again. Story 21. Drinks and baths. Whenever school is stressful, I imagine myself drinking a slushy strawberry margarita in my bathtub. Story 22. We host exchange students. My dream is to have all my biological and borrowed children home for Christmas. Story 23. Winning the lottery, but not for the usual reasons. The buildings and grounds of the school where I work are very old and dilapidated. Built in bits and pieces from about 1900 until now with no real architectural grace, precious little recreational or sports space for the children, and no thought given to integrated technology. I want to rebuild the school from the ground up in a nearby location with all modern conveniences, plenty of sports and recreational facilities, and technologically future-proofed as much as possible. I want to set up a trust that will care for the school for a very long time into the future, and another trust that will provide suitable uniforms, learning materials, and electronic devices for every student regardless of socioeconomic status. I also want to ensure it remains completely comprehensive in its intake with no selection for entry, places allocated purely based on current rules. This is my fantasy if I win the lottery big enough. If I win a lesser amount, I will do as much as I can within the constraints of available funds. Story 24. Getting really tiny. Not losing weight. Literally shrinking to about an inch tall and chilling at fairy size, either in whatever building I am in or in a natural environment nearby that seems easily exploitable if you do not need a lot of resources. Story 25. A perfectly crunchy, melted, grilled cheese. Story 26. Right now, something to watch on Netflix. I have been scrolling for 30 minutes. Story 27. Have the money to be happy. Want a bunny? Sure. Just got to buy one. A big dog that needs plenty of roaming room? I heard there was some land for sale over that way. Delicious food? Absolutely, here is your check. Story 28. Honestly, I just want to have a boyfriend. Yes, that includes sexual fantasies, but I also really want the non-sexual aspects too. Cuddling, holding hands, playing video games together and laughing a lot, making out, hugs, late-night drives in the dark, going to parties with friends, taking silly selfies with camera filters, moving in together. I just want a boyfriend. Story 29. As a teenager, I had a strange fantasy of waking up one morning as a little kid, around 4 or 5 years old, but with my teenage intelligence. I imagined living a much more competent life later on and impressing my family and teachers at an earlier age. Now, my fantasy is simply to figure out what job I actually want to do so I can leave my modestly well-paying job that is quickly burning me out. Story 30. I want to travel around either Europe or America when this virus is over. I want to jump onto a freight train and go wherever the tracks lead me. I want to learn a language I only use for a week before ending up in a new country. I want to live. Story 31. For the coronavirus pandemic to end, we all know it will not happen anytime soon. Story 32. Getting an apprenticeship for tattooing is my dream job. The day I am told I will be accepted and trained will be a wonderful and very happy day for me. Story 33. Cuddling with my future wife in front of a fire on a cold winter evening. The only sounds being the rain outside our window and our cat being adorable while we lie in each other's love and warmth. Story 34. Totally at peace with the way I look and what I eat. Not avoiding mirrors. Not trying on and taking off multiple outfits before leaving the house. Not mentally calculating calories. Not always thinking about my next meal or whether it is healthy enough. Just not thinking about my body or my food. I would have so much more time and mental energy. Story 35. To not have mental illness. Bipolar disorder, depression, and anxiety have taken so much from me. I have the scars to prove it. I hope I survive. Story 36. High-speed car chase. Stopping a mass shooter with a front kick. Story 37. I fantasize about owning a nice 2-story house with an unfinished basement. There is enough room so my kids have their own rooms, I can have my own workstation, and our dining table is not in the kitchen. However, it should not be too big because I am realistic about how much work it takes to keep things clean. Story 38. Moving to New England, buying a house with a large yard, rescuing many dogs, and becoming an author. Story 39. I have struggling artist and musician friends. I constantly imagine that I can help them find fans and a market. I have friends with mental illnesses. I imagine that they will heal. Story 40. You know the scene in the new Batman trailer where Batman fights a bad guy for about 2 minutes straight? Story 41. Somehow having enough money so I could dedicate myself full-time to building cool stuff. Story 42. Someone pulled up to me in a Lamborghini, handed me the keys along with the title in my name, and said, "Here, brother. You need this more than I do." Story 43. I have always wanted to be surrounded by about 20 puppies, just flooded with kisses and cuteness. I have also wanted to see the Milky Way with my own 2 eyes, or at least a full starry night sky. Story 44. I have always fantasized about going to a job interview in a full clown costume. Story 45. Waking up and finding my whole house clean, even though I didn't do it. Story 46. Finding work that I am genuinely passionate about and excited to do every day. Story 47. Saving enough money to live off passive income from investments. Having a wife, a few children, a dog, and a home I love. Having a man cave in the home where I can enjoy myself, express my interests, and maintain my identity after starting a family and becoming a father. Story 48. Owning a house or being able to live comfortably somewhere. Being happy, not miserable all the time. In a relationship that is happy, stable, and real. Story 49. An underground city where all my friends live, and we all use go-karts to get around. Story 50. Living peacefully in a quiet small coastal or rural town in Europe or the Mediterranean, and somehow making enough money for me and my family. Story 51. Buying a piece of land and building my own dream house. Story 52. Having a grandchild who loves me and wants to spend time with me, so I can read them books, cuddle, and teach them to cook. Story 53. Being a billionaire cannabis enthusiast chef. I would love to just use cannabis all day and cook food for everyone and anyone who wanted to relax and eat amazing food. Story 54. I'm just going to be completely honest. It's hard to talk about this due to the magnitude of it, but I wish that one day all my health conditions would go away or be cured so that I can actually experience life the way that I have always deeply wished to. I know that it is never going to happen, but it is the one thing I want. Story 55. Being with the person I am in love with. Talking to him every day, hugs, random kisses, cuddling on the couch. Story 56. Random guy. Did you hear about this fan-made game? It's pretty good. Me, of course I did. I made it. Random guy. What? Yes, it's egocentric, I know. But it would be so cool. Story 57. Having every surface in my home at a reasonable height, such as raising every counter by about 8 inches. Story 58. Having a comfortable home, a loving family, and being financially well off so that I can give back to my parents and grandparents for all they have done. Story 59. Home ownership, car, functional relationships with family. It would be nice to have a tortoise. A tortoise seems like the only goal close to achievable when I can provide it with the necessary environmental conditions. Story 60. I just want a little house in the countryside with a cat. I love my peace and quiet. Story 61. For the first time in my life, I am pretty okay with where I am. I have a great job, I just bought a house, and I drive a nice car. I make enough to live comfortably and put some aside for retirement. I would love to be in a relationship and eventually get married, but it has been so long since I met someone that I really clicked with that I have sort of crossed that off my bucket list. There just is not a whole lot out there that I feel like I need to reach for anymore. So I guess if I really had to dig deep and think of a fantasy, I would like to be able to talk to my granddad. He died when I was 10, and I think he would have been proud of the person I grew into. Story 62. Quitting my job in the most ridiculous way, telling off customers and my boss. Sometimes the thought is what gets me through my shift. Story 63. Create dragons so I can say, "Forget you, I have a dragon. Off we go, Smog." Story 64. Honestly, everything to do with a relationship outside of sex. I want someone to hug and hug back. I want someone to notice when I'm acting off and talk with me about what's getting me down. Someone to come home to or go out with whom I can tell secrets I won't even tell my parents. Someone who makes me feel like the world isn't just a terrible place beyond hope and gives me hope that maybe life isn't going to be a monotonous grind from one hardship to another until you finally pass away and end up buried with others. Somebody to go to when my depression is welling up and I'm feeling terrible, barely eating, and trying to isolate myself because I don't want to be a burden who's complaining about problems that aren't that bad. Because no, Trevor, my chemically imbalanced brain will not stop making me feel awful just because you told me someone else somewhere has it worse than me. So I should stop feeling sorry for myself and just stop being sad. That is exactly how depression works. Have you gotten a Nobel Prize for your groundbreaking discovery yet? Someone who might not share or understand my interests and hobbies but will be supportive and at least feign an interest just because they know it makes me feel better to talk about and do those things, if not join in so we can do it together. Somebody I can cook for in the evenings and have a nice night in, or go out to a restaurant and then spend time outside not even really doing much, but we don't care because we enjoy each other's company so much. Someone I wouldn't mind spending thousands of dollars on a ring for to ask them to marry me. Someone who might change my mind on actually having kids or not, and it's just us for the rest of time. Basically, just a partner. Story 65. Losing 25 pounds. Other than that, give me Natalie Portman, please. Story 66. I have this dream where I am lying down in the snow in the middle of winter at night, and everything is all right. Story 67. One day I will be the first on scene at a violent accident or altercation. When that fight or flight response kicks in, I choose to fight and save the life or attempt to of somebody who needs a helping hand. Story 68. Oh my God. Sleeping. I have not had a good night's sleep in over 6 years. Story 69. Currently crushing on one of my close friends, and honestly, I have fantasized about confessing how I feel in many different ways and it going well. Basically, I just want to love them on another level and have them feel the same. Story 70. Getting married and having children. Being a good father and dying peacefully in my sleep with my family around me. Story 71. I live in a nation with universal healthcare and free college. I have earned my Doctor of Philosophy degree and have a fulfilling 9-to-5 job. I make enough money to have disposable income and am on track to a financially stable retirement. I have a cat named Cat and a reliable car. The trailer for the second season of The Mandalorian has been released. Story 72. Having a job where I can be creative and work for myself. Making enough to have a small but nice home with a pool and a beautiful garden. Story 73. My anxiety to suddenly disappear so I can be as enthusiastic about going out and doing fun activities as my fiancé is, without having that little tickle of dread with me at all times. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.